Hi guys, it's Narandio here. Today we're going to continue our Agēre grammar series looking at verbs in the present tense. In the last video we looked at the first, second and third conjugations in the A and B subclasses. Today we're going to be looking at the C subclasses. C stands for consonant. There are 6 subclasses and they're affected by a number of different changes that don't apply to verbs in the A or B subclasses. So let's look into it. The first thing that consonant subclasses are affected by is vowel breaking. Occasionally a short vowel like a can become a longer vowel like ea, depending on the inflectional part of the verb. We can see here the first conjugation engamason has a short a, whereas in the last video we saw engeames, the first person singular equivalent, I buy, as the longer vowel ea rather than a. In this case we would call a the unbroken vowel and ea the broken vowel. Broken vowels and unbroken vowels appear differently depending on the conjugation pattern of the verb. For example, consonant subclasses belonging to the second conjugation have a broken vowel in the first person singular as opposed to an unbroken vowel if they belonging to the first conjugation. The second major change is that the stem can undergo consonant changes. Ioles has l in the first person singular, I criticize, but r in uare, he, she or it, criticizes in the third person singular. You'll also notice here the difference between the broken io and unbroken ua. Occasionally the consonant change isn't actually a consonant change, the consonant will change into a vowel. Nareves, the V, turns into an U, so nareves, I dance, becomes nareote, to dance. The third change is person endings. Generally, consonant subclasses take the A endings, but there are notable differences. For example, filiosse takes the ending se, rather than as, is, us, or ace that we saw for engeames. Occasionally, there just won't be an ending. There are 6 consonant subclasses: nasal, plosive, fricative, rhotic, labiodental, also known as the V subclass, and sibilant. You'll occasionally see these abbreviated, so nasal will be N, sibilant will be S, and so on. Let's begin by looking at vowel breaking. Vowel breaking is a process of vowel mutation, also known as umlaut, where a vowel, known as an unbroken vowel, can become a broken vowel in certain inflections of a word. There are 2 kinds of vowel breaking, short and long. Short vowel breaking sees short vowels a, I, u become the diphthongs ea, eo, and the long vowel a. So for example, we can see in the first person nasal subclass, engeante and engeames, the present infinitive and first person singular, have the broken ea, whereas the rest of the forms, engame, engamason, engameso, have the unbroken vowel. There is also long vowel breaking, where the diphthong ua, or the long vowels I and u, can become ia, ie, io. We'll see here that the second conjugation rhotic subclass verb iale, to brood, contains the broken vowel in the present infinitive and first singular like the first conjugation, but also in the third person singular, first person plural, and the second person plural. Verbs belonging to the third conjugation behave similarly to the first conjugation. We can now look at the consonant changes which affect the stem. Each of the 6 subclasses is probably most recognizable because the consonants and vowels that characterize the stem of the verb will change. Let's look here at the nasal subclass engeante. A note on hyphens and backslashes. The stem is to the left of the hyphen. The ending is to the right of the hyphen. If a consonant or vowel in the ending after the hyphen has a backslash after it, it means that that sound replaces the final consonant of the stem. So we see that engeames, engame, engamason all have the nasal M as the final letter of the stem. But for the present infinitive, we see that the ending is nte and the N replaces the final sound of the stem. So we don't have engeamente, we have engeante. We can see below the meaning that the consonants which are affected are the nasals M, N, and ng, and they swap with N because they're all replaced by N within the infinitive. A couple examples here are bonte, the verb to jump, which is a first singular bones, and sereonte, the verb to grieve, which is a first singular sereonges. We can see in both cases the N and ng are replaced by nte. We can now move on to the rhotic subclass, where the consonants alternate between the stem r and l. Occurs in the present infinitive, first singular and second singular. So iale, iales, uale, iare, iareson, iarevon, uariso. Short vowel breaking to engeante, long vowel breaking to iale. A couple other examples: cadolle, first person singular, cadoles, I defend; gelle, to wake; geles, I wake. We can now move on to the labiodental, or the V subclass, where the stem ends in V and alternates with U in the infinitive. Nareote, to dance; nareves, I dance. A couple other examples are veraute, to run; veraves, I run; eomeute, to lack; eomeves, I lack. We can move on to the plosive subclass, where the final p, t, k of the stem is replaced by t. Satte, to play. Sakes, I play. A couple other examples. Imatte, to acquire. Imates, I acquire. Leotte, to fly. Leopes, I fly. The fricative subclass, where the, or nothing, and we'll explain this in a second, are replaced by pt, th, and kt in the infinitive. Seves, I have. The stem ends in a v, which is replaced by pt in the infinitive. However, if the stem ends in a the, like valmedes, I worry, the infinitive will end in th, valmedthe, to worry. You also have examples where the stem ends in a vowel. Les, which is the stem le, and the ending es, the two a's combine and make a long es, and that absent vowel becomes a k in the infinitive ending kte, lekte. So you have les, I join, lekte, to join. And finally, we have the sibilant subclass, where s is replaced by either t in the present infinitive or p in the second person singular. Latte, to grind or pulverize. Lasse, I grind. Lappe, you grind. A couple other examples here are fete, to accept. Fese, I accept. And as we've already seen, filiotte, to choose. Filiosse, I choose. And finally, we can move on to the endings. Endings for the consonant subclasses are generally the same as they are for the A subclass. So we can see arav, aras, arave, which you've all memorized by now. The 1B endings, eav and eas. But then if we look at the consonant subclass endings, we can see that the infinitive is always going to be different. In fact, the infinitive form shows most variation between all the consonant subclasses. The first person singular ending will always be ace, and the second person singular ending will always be a. So here we can see engeames has the ending ace, iales has the ending ace, sakes has the ending ace, and the second singular ending is always a. Whereas you would expect the first conjugation ending to be as, ave, second conjugation is, ive, and third conjugation us, uve, but they aren't. They're always ace and a. This is true for every subclass except the sibilant subclass. So let's take satte, to play, which belongs to the plosive subclass. It has ace and a for the first singular and second singular endings. Compare that to the sibilant endings se and pe, with the first p replacing the final s of the sibilant stem. There are sometimes irregularities in the second conjugation, vante, to feel shame, vames, vame, vameson, vamevon, vamiso, but the third person singular is irregular, van, as opposed to vame. The same thing is true of eipothe, to fish. It belongs to the fricative subclass, so you would expect it to go eipodes, eipode, eipode. The third singular is eite. It's for this reason that the third person singular is one of the principal parts noted within the citation form, because you can't derive these by knowing the other parts of the verb. And that's everything for today. In the next lesson, we're going to be looking at verbs in the future tense. So, see you next time.